This week's tip video is on scouting. We're sitting here in front of a big body of water. It's got a bunch of snow geese on it. Some ducks trickled in there with Canada geese and specks as well. About a half mile south of here, between this big body of water and the field we saw them feeding in yesterday, in the middle of a barley field lies two ponds where we saw them bouncing back and forth from. We're just trying to figure out when is the best time to slip into the pond to hunt it. And the only way for us to know when we can use the pond is for us to sit here for 2.5 hours to know when they're going there, how they're using it, when they're leaving it, and where they're going from there.
Scouting can be done at any point during the day, but if you're headed out in the morning, your best bet is to find birds converging over a food source. The first thing they want to do when they wake up is go eat. During the middle of the day, your best bet is to check water sources. These can be large bodies of water like lakes, all the way down to small hidden potholes. Waterfowl typically have loafing areas that they'll spend midday on. But one important thing to remember is if you glass that small body of water or even that lake and only see a few birds, that doesn't mean that's all that's on there. A lot of those small potholes have brush and cattail and reeds all around them, and there could be dozens of ducks hiding in there. Late afternoon and into the evening is another great time to look at food sources. Ducks and geese are going to feed up until sundown, and depending on the moon phase, they might even feed a little bit after. When they're done there, they're either going to go back to roost, or depending on the conditions, they might pick up and continue their migration south.
The initial group of snow geese left that big body of water and came to the field that we had saw them feeding in last night. As we were watching those snow geese land, 3 groups of ducks came out of that pond that we were talking about halfway between the big body of water and the feeding field, and they went over there to feed with the snow geese as they were last night. When we drove by the pond earlier, from what we could see from the road, there was not 3 dozen ducks that were on that pond, and that's about how many just came off of it. We're not sure how many are on there still yet.
Finding waterfowl while scouting is just one piece of the puzzle. Sure, you could find 1,000 birds using a small pothole, head in there the next morning and hunt it, but you run the risk of having a busted hunt. You need to know when those birds are using that pond and how they're using it. If you go in there in the morning and they're sitting in there in the dark and you bust them out, chances are they're not coming back. To find out all the information you need, you might have to forego a hunt or two. You're better off spending your time scouting so that you know exactly what these birds are doing in order to ensure success. One rule of thumb that we always have is we would rather have 1 excellent hunt rather than 2 or 3 mediocre or even bad hunts.
Been sitting here for a while now watching these ducks on this pond in the big water going to and from this field. Kind of doing what we anticipated, going from the big water to the field, from the pond to the field, and then transitioning back and forth. The snow geese got awful chatty and decided to readjust themselves in this field, and with that, a bunch of these ducks decided to get up out of this field, go over the tree line and into this pond that we've been anticipating them to go to and from.
Fall and winter weather conditions, as well as the moon phase, are always changing. You can spend 2 or 3 days scouting and have these ducks or geese pinpointed, knowing exactly what they're going to do, only to have them do something different the following day when you're going to hunt them. You've got to stay a step ahead of them. You need to check the weather to see if it's likely birds will decide to migrate, or if other resources become available because of a warm-up that's going to thaw water, or rainfall that leads to new flooded food sources. During that time frame around a full moon, ducks and geese are more apt to migrate, and they'll also feed well into the night. Knowing what the upcoming moon phase is and the weather conditions is going to help you keep up with the birds. It might even help you stay a step ahead.
So it's about 30 minutes after legal shooting light here. We believe we've put these birds to rest. They've left the pond, they've left the field, and gone on to the big water about another half mile, 3/4 of a mile north of here. I think our best bet is we're going to come back in here in the morning, set up on the banks of this pond, and get after them. Tune back in to next week's episode of The X to find out if all this time spent scouting pays off.